Shalom everyone, it's called Torah, it's Tuesday at noon, and today we're going to discuss Parashat Va'etchanan. In this parasha we have many famous events and many famous stories, such as the emotional davening and basically begging for mercy for Moshe's end, trying to go into the land of Israel. Many times when we read about it, there is something in the heart that really tear out for Moshe. You know, for us it's so easy to go to the land of Israel. In Memphis it used to be a little easier when we had a direct flight from Atlanta, but it's just very easy. It's really easy to go to Israel. In 12-15 hours you are there in the promised land. And you have Moshe, the leader of the Jewish people, is begging, trying, davening, praying, beseeching God and trying, and God says to him, no, you just can't see it from afar, but you can't go there. It's heart-wrenching to read the beginning of the Parsha. Later on, we see in the Parsha the repetition of the Ten Commandments. We can see the differences a little bit between the Ten Commandments that we find in this Parsha when you compare it to Parashat Yitro in the book of Exodus. But really today I would like to talk about something that maybe seems to be a little bit trivial or minuscule, but really to talk about something that I think is a real fundamental in Judaism. The Torah states in our Parsha, "Lo tosifu velo tigreu." You shall not add to the commandments of God, and you shall not detract. You shall not take down anything. You should not remove anything. As we all understand that the commandment of not taking away from the mitzvot that God gave us, that makes sense. I mean, who are we to take away mitzvot that God gave us? But what's the problem with adding mitzvot? Why can't I, have 10 days of Sukkot, 15 days of Pesach, 3 days of Shavuot? What's the problem with that? Why can't I have 5 portions in my tefillin instead of 4? What can be so wrong with it? In addition to it, I would like to ask, sometimes we see many rabbinic decrees that seems to be like adding to the Torah. I'll give you an example. As we know, the Torah states that we cannot eat meat and milk together. Basar v'chalav. Basar, meat, chalav, milk. The rabbis were the one to add also chicken and milk. That we cannot eat it together, we cannot cook it together, we cannot get any enjoyment from it. It seems to be like adding a mitzvah. What exactly is the point, or it's the problem of adding mitzvot? This question was asked by many commentators, and I would like to share with you one answer that I think has a lot of depth to it. God's commandments and Hashem's Torah was given to us in a perfect way. It was a divine, intellectual understanding of the world was given to us humans. It was given to us to understand, to implement, and to teach, but not to change. If we start playing with the commandments and saying, God meant to keep the Shabbat, but we're going to add to it. Not only that they're concerned that if you start adding, you will start playing with it, you will detract from it as well. But really adding to it means that it's not perfect. Adding to it means that the divine wisdom is not perfect. And that's a fundamental in Judaism, that the divine wisdom is perfect. Yeah, it was given to us to understand and to interpret and to explain and to teach, but not to change, not to add to it. So how can we explain the rabbinic decrees? How can we explain all the mitzvot, all the commandments that are the Rabbanan, that are from the rabbis? So Maimonides, the Rambam, said something that it's a real fundamental again. He says that when the rabbis, for example, added the mitzvah of not to eat chicken and milk, they said it specifically that it's only rabbinic. Now, when I say only rabbinic, does not mean that, it's only rabbinic so we can do whatever we want. Exactly the opposite. We need to be very careful with rabbinic decrees. But at the same time, we must understand that it's not a biblical commandment. So we don't get confused and we don't start playing with commandments, with mitzvot. There is a fascinating midrash that talks about the sin of Adam and Eve. As we know, Adam was commanded not to eat from the tree. Nevertheless, when the serpent has a discussion with Chava, with Eve, Eve said, God said, and I open a quote, don't touch the tree and don't eat from the tree. She added, don't touch the tree. Where did she get that commandment from? So some people will say she just made it up. But the Midrash says that Adam was the one to tell Chava, hey, God says don't touch the tree. Why would he say that? Because Adam was afraid that by not saying it, Chava will touch the tree and will eat from the tree. So he told her that God said don't do both, even though God says just don't eat from the tree. Adam added a mitzvah, added a prohibition. And what were the consequences? A disaster. Instead of telling her, my dear wife Chava, I love you, and God says, don't eat from the tree. And I am adding, you know what, let's accept upon ourselves, both of us, you and me, that you know what, we will not even get close to the tree because of the temptation. Instead, Adam played the macho. He had a big ego for that, and he says to Chava, hey Chava, you know what, don't touch the tree. Who said it? God. God never said it. It's you. You can, if you want, add restrictions and prohibitions upon you. But never says that was God. Say it's you. The importance of this message is really in different areas. A, the perfectness and the wholeness and the completeness of God's wisdom. B, sometimes with playing with mitzvot, you are really playing with fire, because the consequences can be horrific, as we saw with Adam and Eve. Third, as we saw in prior parashot, we do have a concept of some kind of adding restrictions. For example, taking a vow, taking an oath, taking a neder. But nevertheless, we always need to understand the origin of it in order not to basically slide into playing with mitzvot. It's a little complicated message, especially in modern times when we always investigate things, explore things, analyze things, trying to add and to change. It's all good when it's human wisdom. But when it's God's wisdom, we need to understand our limitations. We need to understand our boundaries. We need to understand that we will not be able to understand everything. And to know when to surround ourselves, when to submit ourselves, and when to push ourselves to the maximum in order to maximize our cognitive potential. It's complicated, but doable. Thank you.